This is lesson 11, and for lesson 11 we're going to concentrate pretty much on just one thing, and that's going to be the 800-pound gorilla here in the corner, the 192. But before we actually concentrate on that, I'd like to double check this 5 here. This 5 cell, I noticed that the 8 cannot possibly work. I'm sorry, the 9 cannot possibly work because we erased the 4 from here before. When we got this 4, we erased the 4s from this column, and we would subtract normally a 4 from here, from this 9, to get 5. But since there is no 4 here anymore, let's trash the 9. The same thing goes because we removed the 4 from there. This 9 won't work either. Good. So now that we've cleaned up some of our ecology, let's tackle that gorilla. Now, because this number is so big, we know it can't be an addition problem here. Can't add up to that much. So it must be multiplication. So one of the first things you would do when you're dealing with the multiplication is factor it. 192 is divisible by 2, gives us 96, which is divisible by 2, gives us 48. Divisible by 2, 24, and you know the drill. Ending up with our final prime number, 3. Since 3 is the final prime number, which can't be divided because it is a prime number, we're done. So the factors, the prime factors of 192 are 6 groups of 2 and a 3, which, as you probably know, is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. But this 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, etc., is 2 to the 6th power. So 2 to the 6th power times 3 equals 192. But here we have 2 terms. We can use 3 terms. We need to use 3 terms because the 192 is a 3-cell cage. So we need to redistribute these numbers. Since we can't break this up and factor it and put anything over here, we'll take one of these 2's out. If I divide this by 2, I get 2 to the 5th. And that 2 that we factored out of that will go and make our 3rd term. Except 2 to the 5th is 32. And we can't use that as one of our cells. It's too big. So I'll have to redistribute that further. Make it 2 to the 4th. Divide it by 2 and get 2 to the 4th times 3 times, multiply this 2 by the 2 we factored out of there, and that's 2 to the 2nd, or 4. So now we've got 16 times 3 times 4. Getting closer, but 16 is still too big. Factor out another 2. And now we're cooking. Add that factor in here. So we've got 2 to the 3rd times 3 times 2 to the 3rd. It's a tongue twister. 2 to the 3rd. It is for me anyway. So that turns into 8 times 3 times 8, which can go very nicely in here if I put the 8 over here and the other 8 over here, because we can't have them both in the same row. Whoops. Gotta erase that. Can't have them both in the same row or in the same column. That means the 3 would end up going here. It's the only place the 3 could go in this scenario. But there's another scenario. Remember when we factored this 2 to the 3rd over here to this one? I could have factored it to here. In other words, when this was 2 to the 4th times 3 times 2 to the 3rd, when I divided 2, factored 2 out of this 2 to the 4th and made it 2 to the 3rd, I have to factor back in that 2 somewhere. That time I'd factored it back into this 2 to the 2nd to make it a 2 to the 3rd. But this time I'll factor it into the 3. I'll multiply 3 times 2 and get 6. That'll also fit in a cell. And leave the 2 to the 3rd, this 2 to the 2nd the same way it was. So in other words, what I've done is taken 2 to the 4th times 3 times 2 to the 2nd and changed it to 2 to the 3rd times 6 times 2 to the 2nd, which works out to be 8 times 6 times 4. Now that's a lot of work, but once you've done this quite a few times, it works almost intuitively, and you'll do it with just a few scribbles on the paper. You won't have to work down a whole set like this. So 8 times 6 times 4 can also fit into this cage. So we don't know where the 4 goes. It could go into any of these. And the same with the 6. And the same with the 8. In this case, there'd only be one 8, so that could go in any of these cells. So that's what that looks like for now. And we'll do some more. We'll probably tackle this 1 and maybe this 8 and this one. Whoops, I'll have to erase that. And I'll erase all this by the next time you see me. Okay, we'll see you in number 12 pretty soon.